who are the people who you are grateful for? And yes, we normally think of family and friends, and absolutely. But let me challenge you to be even more specific. If you are gathering with family or friends on Thanksgiving Day, think in advance of some specific characteristics or ways of relating that you can express gratitude to that particular person for that particular thing. Doesn't it mean something to you when somebody comes and expresses gratitude for a specific characteristic or specific thing that you did? They noticed. Yes, it's being grateful for you, but specific adds so much more. So let me encourage you to think in advance of the people. Happy Thanksgiving. This is the week where here in the United States we celebrate Thanksgiving. And for many that includes getting together with family and friends and a big meal. It's the least commercialized of our holidays, and I think that is wonderful. A time to really pause and be grateful for what we do have. And you probably are aware of the scientific research, at least you've heard of this, that being grateful actually changes your mood, your sense of well-being. And it's really true. We can prove that. In this short episode today, I want to share with you 3 things that I am especially grateful for this year. Number 1, I am grateful for you. That is much more important than you may realize, and I struggle to really find the words to say how grateful I am for you. If it wasn't for you, there'd be no reason to do anything that we do. There'd be no reason for me to sit here in this studio in my house and go through the wranglings with the electronics and the digital media. Yeah, thankfully there's so much that we have available to do, but without you, there'd be no reason for me to do this. There'd be no reason to write the articles that I do on our website or to connect with the team that we do. If you weren't there to read them, if you aren't there to listen to the podcast or watch the videos, there'd be no reason to do this. For those of you who have been able to support us at Dr. Carol Ministries, you make it possible. I am so incredibly grateful for you. And perhaps the biggest way that I feel that gratitude is when I hear from you, when you leave a comment, when you write to me, whether it's on the contact page on our website or you reach out in response to an email or a podcast or leave a comment on a video. When I hear from you, that does so much for my soul and for those who work with me in helping to make this material available for you. When I hear that something we have done, something I've written, something I've said, or something we produced, that has made a difference in your life, that is the whole point. Everybody needs transformation. That's why we're here, and that means you. You need transformation, and when we hear that something we have done, God has used in a piece of your transformation story, oh, that just fuels me. I am so grateful for you this year. Number 2, I am grateful for closed doors. Now, that may sound kind of backwards, but I have learned some things much more recently than I care to admit about how what a blessing closed doors can be. As we have worked in this ministry and tried various things and so on, sometimes things work and sometimes things don't. And for the things that don't, a closed door, it's like God is saying, this way, not that way. Perhaps you remember some of the stories in the book of Acts in the New Testament where Paul is on his missionary journeys. And Paul says the Holy Spirit kept us from going into this province. And so we stayed and we waited and we listened and God opened a door to go here. that's how I have come to see closed doors. There, for example, have been some opportunities that from time to time come along, and if something that we had done earlier had been just really successful, we wouldn't have been able to take advantage of this opportunity. So a closed door is God preparing me, preparing us for the next thing that is actually better. And I have come to see that that is a big part of how God communicates, how He guides. Now, that doesn't mean that we don't put effort in, and that, hard times aren't hard. But I have really come to feel some gratitude for those closed doors. And number 3, I am grateful for creativity. When God put Adam and Eve in the Garden of Eden, he gave them a role. He gave them a job. They weren't there just to feel good and look nice. He gave them the garden to tend, to keep. Their creativity was going to be displayed in how the Garden of Eden came to be. Now, there wasn't, thorns and thistles before sin entered, but the garden needed tending. It was as if God's creativity in speaking the world and the universe into existence, when God made Adam and Eve in His image, the creativity of God Himself He put in them. And He expected them and invited them to be creative in how they brought themselves to the world. And that creativity is still part of you and me. Following Jesus doesn't mean that we aren't involved in creating. It's just the opposite. God is inviting us to join with Him in creating something beautiful in the world. And the skills that we learn, the experiences we go through, frankly, the good and the not so good things, it's all part of becoming the person that can create that. And a question that I have recently heard from Dr. Kurt Thompson that has been so applicable: what beautiful thing do you want to create? What beautiful thing is God calling you to create in this world? That might be a light bulb moment for a child in teaching them. It might be a bit of computer code that solves a problem. It might be an interesting engineering solution. It might be some food that is delicious and nourishes and invites people to connect. It might be an environment of safety where someone can be seen and known. It might be a work of art. It might, in my case, often ends up being something written, some words that speak truth, that encourage and enlighten. It might be building an organization. Whatever it is, God invites us to be creative, and I am grateful for that. It draws out the best in me when I realize that the shape of my future and of the impact I make on the world is impacted by the creativity that I bring. Yes, there is evil in this world. Yes, there are constraints, and frankly, those are gifts. And yes, God has a purpose, but the creativity that I bring, whether that's artistic creativity or not, but just how am I building a beautiful thing? Building a beautiful relationship with somebody, a marriage, a family, whatever it is. That is part of the creative nature that God built within us. And I am grateful for that this year. Perhaps understanding or thinking of those things that I am grateful for will tweak some things in you. Let me encourage you to, first of all, think, who are the people who you are grateful for? And yes, we normally think of family and friends, and absolutely. But let me challenge you to be even more specific. If you are gathering with family or friends on Thanksgiving Day, uh, think in advance of some specific characteristics or ways of relating that you can express gratitude to that particular person for that particular thing. Doesn't it mean something to you when somebody comes and expresses gratitude for a specific characteristic or specific thing that you did? They noticed. Yes, it's being grateful for you, but specific adds so much more. So let me encourage you to think in advance of the people that you're going to be with on Thanksgiving in a way that you can specifically express gratitude for that specific thing to that specific person. And then stretch it beyond that. Think of some other people in your world that maybe you don't normally say thank you to. But as you contemplate, you realize your life would be more difficult without that person who comes and mows your lawn, or the person who loves your child while you are working, and that helps. Your pastor for speaking truth. Think of the other people in your world that you can say thank you to. And then, what closed doors might God have brought to you this year that might have seemed hard, and it might be easy to get irritated and frustrated and defensive about, but as you contemplate, might you be able to see that as something to be grateful for? God directing you in a way that will be better? And then, what beautiful thing is in your heart to create? What has God prepared perhaps for you to do? And be grateful that needs to draw out the best in you. As the saying is said, if it was easy, anybody could do it. Well, yes, the point is there is something that only you can do, and that's where your creativity comes in. Again, artistic or not, but what beautiful thing do you want to create? Happy Thanksgiving. I am grateful for you. Thank you. I'd love to hear from you. You can leave me a comment under this video if you're watching, or go to our website, the contact page there. It's a confidential message. I would love to hear from you. God bless you. And one last time, happy Thanksgiving.